Hello, everyone. This is Pirate's Corner. Thanks for joining me. This is your friendly neighborhood space pirate, Rixx Javix, coming to you from my studio in my home and outside, somewhere in a secret location outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And this is the fourth week in a row that I've been doing this. I originally had a different topic in mind for this week, but then, CCP has a way of throwing things into our corner that makes us think and ponder and wonder about the future of this wonderful game that we're all so passionate about. And that was true this week. In the patch notes, they announced that they're going to be adding 53 brand new spanking new systems. I hope they don't spank systems. These are not going to be systems where you can get spanked. These are going to be spanking new systems. It's important for me as your host to put the words in the proper order. So I will strive to do that. So not spanking systems, but brand spanking new systems. There we go. We got it. Yay. Hey, these are new ones. These are for the NPE. And sometime between now and the beginning of FanFest, we'll probably learn more. So it was very cryptic. So if you split 53 systems between the four empires, you get 10-ish, a little over 10 per. So and if somebody else could do the math, as we know from last episode, I am terrible at it. So I have not asked or used a calculator. So what's the deal with this? This is pretty awesome, I think. Anything that we can do to increase the amount of retention in this game is a positive. So let's take this with a grain of salt and let's pretend it's going to be great until we hear otherwise. So I've long been an advocate of this. I've written about it extensively over on my blog at Evaganda. You can do a quick search there and find some. I will link one in particular in the description below that I wrote back in 2011, believe it or not. That's almost 15 years ago. This was called Sanctuary. It was me looking forward to what we might expect in 2012, most of which did not come true, some of which did actually. But my idea basically back then was, let's take the rookie systems. Mine was Totokai. I'm sure you have yours, and you probably remember it very well. And let's turn those into instances in which new players can be free to roam and do and be held by aura and led on missions and exploits and possibly even mini games. Who knows? All kinds of fun stuff that the new bros can get into to learn the various aspects of the game. Maybe even get a chance to fly a battleship, or something weird that they don't get to do for a long time in the game to show them how much fun down the road is going to be once the skill train has gone on for 18 months or 16 years or 18 years, as the case may be. So I fully support the idea. I hope it's good. It'll be good. You got to watch, of course, because Eve is Eve. So how do we deal with it? I think that you would be inclined to have this be some kind of an opt-out system where returning players who don't need the new player experience or don't certainly want to, or people who are creating alpha accounts or alts can skip it. Also, I think it's a step out and you're out permanently kind of situation, or there's drastic ship restrictions for entering. Kind of prefer the first one of those and not the second. I think anything you do that allows the rest of us to figure out a way to get in, we're probably going to figure out a way to get in. So I kind of prefer the opt out. I'm done. I've done 2 months of this and I'm bored and I need to get out there and start mingling with the edge lords and the pirate lords and all the craziness that's going on in nullsec or in wormhole space or joint faction warfare or whatever it is that they're planning on doing. And but I color me excited. So I'm going to put that link down below, and I'm going to have to re-record this yet again because my wife's phone's going off in the background. As you can see, I didn't have a chance to put on a FanFest or a Stay Frosty t-shirt this week, so I'm wearing my Stay Frosty hat with my Stay Frosty pin. Represent. Anyway, so when I started talking about the NPE and the new systems and what that might bring, it made me think of another topic, which I thought could be more apropos this week than the one I had planned. So, you got to roll with the punches when you're doing this every week, which is, fourth week in a row. Congratulations to me and to the patience of all those watching. And hopefully I have continued to improve and this isn't a painful experience for anyone. What I thought would be interesting to talk about from my perspective is as an 18-year player, or soon to be, I'll be celebrating my 18th year of playing EVE this coming September, which is amazing. I never intended to do that, so kind of weird that I find myself in this position, but I can't complain at all because I've enjoyed every second of it. Speaking of which, why would I enjoy it when I often am the focus, I think would be the right word, the focus of undesirable attention. So there you go. There's a lot of words to say something about being, let's just go down the list a little bit. So I've had my account hacked and stolen once for 2 full weeks while I worked with CCP to get it back. Thank you, CCP from 2009. That was one of the first things that happened. I got it back over vacation, as a matter of fact, which was pretty awesome. So I didn't have to start over, which I was really concerned about. I've been stalked in real life on several occasions. I've been threatened to be stalked on several occasions. My first trip to FanFest, I actually had to, I contacted the Icelandic Police Department about a potential stalker who might be showing up. I've been threatened many times. I've, on and on and on. So I thought it would be a good idea to pass on some wisdom that I have gained from 18 years of this. I seem to attract unwanted attention like flies to a certain thing that comes out of animals. So I won't say it since I want to keep my YouTube standards very high here. I'm not going to drop into the gutter to explain things, nor am I going to be mentioning anyone by name. I like to refer to them all in their various aspects as my number one fans. So that has a long history, and I think it's apropos to this discussion. So, Rixx, how do you survive EVE? We know how to survive the game itself. We have a lot of PvP advice. We have a lot of videos we can watch, blogs we can read, guides, on and on and on. We can take advice from a lot of different people who have a lot of different things to say about how to fit your ships, how to conduct yourself in space, which corporations you should fly with, which parts of space are more important than other parts. And everybody has their opinions, and they're all welcome to them, and that's great. But we have very few guides on how to survive EVE as a social experiment, both online and within the game itself. I get a tremendous amount of hate and anger and profanity for blowing up people's ships, and I always try to deal with that as a tongue-in-cheek thing and with good humor and good spirit, and I often will, if people are willing to engage, often will pay for their loss. Or let them go. I mean, there's a lot of things you can see in some of my shorts where I let people's pods go for various reasons, because they're very young or because they put up a good fight. I have my own standards for that sort of thing, so I'm not trying to be an a-hole about it, because the first thing on my list, my first piece of advice, is that it's always critical to remember that your character in the game is not really you. I'm not Rixx Javix. I'm Brian, and I live here. I don't live in Oleta, in the station, in pirate space, in low security space. I don't do any of those things. That's Rixx. Rixx is a character that I embody in the game of EVE Online. Now, over the last 18 years, the distinction between Rixx and myself has become kind of murky. I've embraced that online persona. I didn't approach the game in 2008 and 2009 and 2010 in the early days with that intention. I thought for sure that I would keep those two personas completely separate. I didn't talk about my real life on the blog. I didn't let anyone in. I didn't share what was going on. And that was a slow process that took many years for me to feel comfortable doing. And you may be in various states of that. You may want to keep your in-game persona completely separate from your real-life one, which is completely understandable. You may want to merge those two, or you may be a streamer or someone who's, or like this, just out in front of a camera, and you don't care. So wherever you find yourself, it's always important to remember that online persona of you is not the real you. And, you're not the character. You're not the myth that goes along with that character. When people attack Rixx Javix, they're attacking an imaginary being who doesn't actually exist. He exists in an online game. He's pixels like the spaceships of the game. So it's not a personal attack on me, although sometimes it will bleed into that. And that's when we all need to take further steps to protect ourselves. And this is why, unfortunately, over the course of those 18 years, there have been many, many instances in which people have stepped over that line and found themselves suddenly removed from the community or the game and found themselves permanently banned. We can come up with many, many popular suggestions or examples of that throughout our history, but there are many, many more, hundreds of more, of those examples that no one knows about because those characters didn't cry about it on Reddit or didn't talk about it on forums, or they weren't popular or well-known characters. So that happens. It's just important for you to keep that boundary wherever it is that you decide that it needs to be kept. So that is totally up to you. Do not allow yourself to be or feel hated. Right now, I can go on Reddit, and my number one fans, I'll put a plural on the end of it because there's a couple, will show up. They do inevitably. They post about me on Discord constantly, which is a very strange thing. They believe certain myths about me personally, which are quite disturbing. Despite evidence to the contrary, they continue to spread those rumors as if they were truth, which is, again, perfectly fine. They can do whatever it is that makes them happy. I don't understand the obsession of constantly doing that, but again, that is totally up to them. Now, remember that what they are seeking, what my number one fans are seeking from me, and what people like that will be seeking from you is the currency that they deal with. It isn't, they don't want money, they don't want fame, what they want is attention. And giving them attention only feeds the fuel. It's a circle of logic that you cannot break. You can't respond on Reddit. You can't respond on the forums or on Discord or somewhere without expecting it to continue. Now, I have to admit that sometimes I get a little bit of joy out of engaging these trolls myself. I have lit the fire on many occasions to just see where it goes, because I am kind of sometimes I have a little streak of antisocial, I don't know what you call it. I just really enjoy when people are being a-holes, kind of letting them fly their freak flag a little bit and seeing how far down the rabbit hole they would like to go. So I made a promise to my wife a few years ago that I would stop doing that, and I have done that. I have stopped. I no longer do that. So I get a kick out of it, honestly. I know that they think it's probably making me mad or angry or something, but it's quite the opposite. So just remember that they're seeking attention. They're doing it to get attention. When I blow up somebody's ship in the game and they call me a very, very angry word, they're very emotional at the moment. They just lost something that was probably very important to them. And I have to, as a person, understand that in the moment. So I try not to rag on them or share that salt too much. We do sometimes take screenshots of ones that get a little out of hand and share those on our Discord. But I try not to do that too much, because these are people who are in dire straits or have had, a bad experience. So try not to take advantage of people too much. That's why even when I share losses on my blog to make a point, or here, if I do it here or on a short or in another video, I try to obscure the names. I try not to make too big of a deal out of who it is specifically, because we're all trying to learn a lesson, and I try not to be the troll. I don't want to be that person with that hat. It's a difficult thing to do when you're a pirate lord and you're running a pirate organization, and your main objective is to remove people from their internet spaceships for a living inside of a game. It's very important to remember those two things are very separate. This is not a real world situation. As a matter of fact, if you go out to FanFest or you go to player meets and you start meeting other players, we all have a great time together. We all laugh. Even when I have had an opportunity to meet people who, may not care for me a whole lot in person, eventually, I think we've all come to an understanding about it. And I had a great example of that I won't get into any details with just last year at FanFest. We started off on the wrong foot. I started off on the wrong foot. I took full responsibility for what I did because I took a photo and I made a joke that I thought was funny. But learning more about the contents and the context of that moment made me realize that I had done something wrong, and I owned up to it. I always do, or I try to always do that. And over the course of those few days, by the end of it, I think we all came to at least a mutual respect for each other, or maybe not friendship or anything, but I think we came to an understanding, and I like that. We shook hands, we exchanged pleasantries, and maybe some real buttons and stickers and things, and we came to an understanding about it. I love that. Did that with Suleiman Shua, who was the CEO of the Tuskers. We had some bad blood between us, and years ago, we managed to finally meet in real life, and it turned out to be a really awesome guy, and we shared drinks and made up and shook hands and hugged it out, and again, not hanging out at his house or anything like that. It's not that kind of friendship, but I felt good to bury the hatchet on a long simmering in-game pixel-based grudge. As silly as that can sound. So the last advice I have is to be yourself and do so for a very long time. And remember, don't let this change you. The long view always wins. These outbursts, these angers, these number one fan situations tend to ignite and burn out eventually. And as long as you're being yourself, they will do so quicker. Now, some of these last for years. I have one right now that's, into its 5th or 6th year. I don't keep track. But, water under the bridge, right? And eventually, what's the point of it, really? Who can keep this up for that long? I don't know. But I do know that I accept the fact that there's going to be a percentage of the EVE community that perceives me a certain way, and there's not a gosh darn thing that I can do about it. I'm going to continue to do what I do. I'm going to continue to write my blog, and I'm going to continue to express my opinions. I'm going to continue to create art. I'm going to continue to create videos that I enjoy and that hopefully others will enjoy. I'm going to continue to talk about this game that I love, and I'm going to continue to suggest to CCP changes that I think would make the game better. I'm going to continue to go to FanFest and put on player events in the game, like the upcoming FFA, Frigate Free for All, April 11th. You're all invited. If you didn't watch my last video or read the blog, that is a annual event that Stay Frosty and A Band Apart put on, and we'll have 10,000 frigates available to hand out, and we'll all get the chance to shoot each other, and you can blow me up if you don't like me. You can even try to pod me or whatever it is that makes you happy. And then when you know what, you can take those kill mails and you can post them on your little Discords, and you can all go ha ha ha, and to your heart's content, please do so. So those are my advice. I think surviving EVE socially is just as important as surviving in the game. And I think that we need to talk about that more and be more open about the world that exists on the other side of the fence, So if you need any advice, there's always a broadcast for reps. There's always, my Discord is always open. You can join my Discord at Evaganda. There's a link on the blog to join my personal Discord. It's or DM me directly, or comment here on these videos, or whatever, or and I will do whatever I can to help you or give you advice how to deal with the situation that you happen to be in. And I hope you have a great rest of your week. Let's take a look at what CCP's got cooking as far as the NPE goes, and hope that they have some good ideas. If they've listened to anything I've said over the last 16 years on my blog, then hopefully they'll implement some of that, and then we'll all be happy with the results. So take care, and I will see you again next week on Pirates Corner. Bye. Fly safe.